You know what, I have written in like a few notes that I really liked this movie, and I think this is like a fun movie to put on, just if you're hanging out. But coming off A Fistful of Dollars, you could this movie is nowhere near it on anything.
I mean, yeah.
I'll just pass the buck. What did you think about this movie, Patrick?
I was disappointed by this movie. Not that I had the highest of expectations, but I figure, okay, canon movie, ninja, Django, Christopher George, and he was really the only thing that didn't really let me down. I think this movie, I mentioned not much plot, but I think really the biggest thing that brings us down is, I think it's the director. You know, he's a producer. He should get his J. Lee Tompkinses and his Michael Winners to do the directing. I don't think he's got it in him to make a big time, fun ninja movie. Get Furstenberg for that kind of thing. It's just not. It's not who he is. And I actually think I read that he wasn't supposed to direct it. I think whoever was supposed to had to like back out at the last minute. So maybe that's part of it. Or so I might be confusing that with like why Franco Nero came in at the last minute to be the lead actor. But yeah, and then I do think Franco Nero too isn't really right for the role. So those are my two big kind of complaints.
He almost looks like a redneck ninja. You know what I mean? It's all because of that stash.
It's a very Jeff Foxworthy looking kind of thing.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Yeah, you know what? For the most part, I think the movie's fine. It's a fine movie. It's a fine B movie, I guess is what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible.
No, there's definitely negative things you can say about it. The story, however, is a decent story of, like this, I don't know, like this story revolving around protecting his friends, and then he becomes this vengeful ninja. Other than like all these small weird diversions, it's a pretty straightforward story. It's kind of it's easy to follow if you're drinking,
I do think it's weird that Marianne becomes like the focus of the end. Oh, we have to save not we. Yeah, he's got to save Marianne because like Marianne's his friend's wife, and he didn't. I know they had sex, but like he didn't know her before this movie. That's why she attacked him with the gun.
Yeah, that's why
it's just kind of a weird like. It was a weird insertion of a romance plot, and then the romance... It's not romance at the end of the movie so much, but that's still kind of the relationship between those two is still kind of what's driving it at the end, and that's just a little odd to me.
I think in a movie called Enter the Ninja, insertion has to be a big part of it.
Sure. Oh, yeah, I'm not disagreeing. Well, we got the fistful in the last movie.
Yeah.
And...
Sorry, insertion and fistful? The action in it is actually pretty decent. You have to admit. Like it's pretty decent action.
It's not terrible, but the only scene that really stood out to me is the opening scene. Running through the woods, and I thought, that was the only one that really... Everything else I thought was like passable. That was the one scene that I thought was like pretty darn good,
The one that I thought was pretty good, other than the opening scene, was where he confronts those goons in the the plantation village.
Okay.
And he starts attacking them with like a bench.
Is that when he rips off Hook's arm? Or rips off Hook's hook?
No, that's later.
Because that's not really an action scene, but that brings up, like, there's a couple moments in this movie where we get, like, really, really cartoony music score. I mean, generally, I don't like the music score. I think in the action scenes, it gets very repetitive. But there's, like, a few moments where they have, like, that exaggeratedly, like... Do you know what I mean? It's a moment with Hook. It's like they have the exaggeratedly comedic moment when something happens, and it's almost like a dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
It's like it's. I mean, it's not that, but it's like something like, what are we doing with this? And I think they have another moment with Christopher George too, where I thought the score was terrible. I thought,
I don't even remember the score, and that's probably best.
Okay, well, I mean, it's up against an Ennio Morricone score, so obviously anything's going to suck compared to that, to be perfectly fair.
And the only thing I thought was weird about this, that it didn't have in it? Nudity. I'm not saying I was looking for it, but I'm surprised that it wasn't in this. You know what I mean? This is like the caliber of movie.
Well, yeah, it's Menahem Golan. I mean, he's those, watch that Canon Films documentary. I mean...
What's it called, movies, by the way? Do you know?
Electric Boogaloo. Because that's Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo was a hit film from Canon Films. But yeah, no, those movies were big on the biggest explosions, the dumbest explosions, and throwing a lot of nudity. And they're not like Andy Sidaris levels, but, their fair share. Yeah, I agree. That is kind of surprising.